Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, readers of all persuasions. It is I, Gayla, and welcome back to Book Uncorked and Caffeinated. Yes, I'm in a different place. I'm on vacay. You're going to get that vlog, so I'm not going to tell you where I'm at in this video. But I want to talk about something that people usually don't talk about here on BookTube, is how long it takes to read books that you're interested in, but it's just not grabbing your attention, but you're still interested in it and you want to finish it, or you're a completionist like myself. So sometimes when I start something, I don't like to DNF it because I want to give it a chance. So sometimes I may put it down and pick it back up. But I have 4 books today that took me literally, a couple of them took me years to finish just because my headspace for them was different. And so I want to talk about those books today and possibly why. I don't know. I give you a quick synopsis of them or whatever. So like I said, I have 4 books that has taken me months to years to read because I just wasn't in it at that time. And I will have the books actually on the screen because I think all 4 of the books, no, 3 of the books I have physically and 1 was on Audible. So I'll place all of them on the screen so you can see. So the first book, I'm going to be looking down at my notepad. So the first book is The Bookshop Sisterhood by Michelle Lindo Rice. It's about 4 friends that were interested in the book community. They contributed different things. Like one was a financial whiz, one was like a book reader. They all were book readers. They all did a book club for years because they were friends. But you know, everybody had a different skill. And so they came together to start a bookstore, but life happens. So it took them forever, relationships, babies, all of the things, money. So it took them a long time. So it took me just a long time to read it. So it took me 7 months to read this book. I began this book in August 24, and I did not finish it until March 2025. I gave it a 3 stars because it was a really good book, but it kind of got lost because I was so, sorry for that, I'm trying to move the camera around. I was so just back and forth with it and reading other things, but I actually really wanted to read it, so it took me that long. The reason why I also picked it up, Black author, and it was a book about books. So that's why I had no rhyme or reason of purchasing the book, but I wanted to read it because of those 2 things. So I think in my heart, because of those 2 things, I wanted to complete the book, but it took me 7 months. The second book, The Garden Within by Dr. Anita Phillips. So Dr. Anita Phillips is a clinician and a minister. So it merges 2 of my worlds, being a Christian woman, grown up Christian, still deciding to live by Christian values, but also being a clinician. So I need one of those shirts that says something to the effect like prayer and therapy, you know, works best or something like that. I need a shirt like that. But Dr. Phillips talks about how your emotions and regulating your emotions to help you live your best life. And she blends faith and mental health. I started this book at the top of January 2024. It took me 8 months to read it. And to be very transparent, it only really took me 2 months to read it. So I picked it up in January 2025. I think I might have read a chapter or 2. And then I put it down for whatever reason because I think I put it down because I wanted to read it as the beginning. I always have a book at the beginning of the year that's going to guide the year. And then things in life happen. But I picked it back up in August. I remember very specifically intentional because it was right before school started. And I wanted to have something to guide me into the school year. So it took me about 2 weeks because I read a chapter a day. I use it as my daily meditation to prepare for the new school year. So even though initially it was supposed to be for the new year, it was actually for the new school year, which is another newness for me as a person that works in the school system. The third book is Unconditional by Sean. That took me actually a year. I started that March 24 and I finished it March 25. And I gave it 4 stars. It was a really good book. It was about 2 lovers reunited after 2 years. They had like a summer fling. And actually in this book, the guy had more feelings than the girl. And then they went their separate ways, and then 2 years later, they were in one another's company again. And I think they decided to move forward. So this was a nice little love story, but it took me a little minute. I think it took me a minute because um, Untouchable was published first, and I'm kind of like to read things in order. So when I realized Untouchable was published first, I did not go right into Unconditional, a love story. I went back and read Untouchable, and it only took me a few days to read Untouchable, and then I picked Unconditional back up, and that's why it was that year span. And the fourth and final book was Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, a black man's letter to his son, just pretty much talking about being a black man, being in society, talking about your black body, how people see you in society as a black man, and just really telling his son his story so he can most likely understand why dad does what he does and why life is the way it is and how he moves forward. It was a really good read. This book took me 7 years to complete. I started this based on Goodreads. I started this book June 2018, and I did not finish it till February 2025. And that's 7 years. So also on Goodreads, I had a date of completion of, I think it was in 2019. So it might have been a year. But I think what happened was I started it, for that time for me, it was heavy and I wanted to give it my attention. This is what I'm thinking. And I didn't have the attention to give it, so I stopped. This time around, it was a professional book study. And I took it purposefully because I knew last time it took me a little minute to get into it. And so I wanted to be with educators and therapists that was giving it the attention it needed and had an intentionality and questions and digging in deep. And I'm glad I did it that way because I got a lot out of it. But if on paper, if Goodreads is correct, it took me 7 years to complete this book. That's crazy. And of course, it got a 5-star. But it was interesting because the book group was primarily women. I think we had about 3 guys in the group. So it was interesting to hear their perspective. When they spoke up about certain things, you can tell certain topics among the guys were very important to them to discuss. So those are the 4 books that took me forever to read, but I actually enjoyed it. You see, they have like 4 and 5 stars. They weren't bad books. It was just that I wasn't in a place in my life that I can give them the attention that it needed. So now I currently have on my list One of Us Knows by Lisa Coles. I started it in January 2025. And I started it because I really enjoyed the first book I read by her, No One Is Watching. And it took me 8 days to read that. I really enjoyed it. And so when this one came out, I said, sure, I will read it. I was anticipating reading it. And then it got super heavy. It's a psychological thriller. Has a lot of references to mental health. So I didn't go into reading the book with a mental health lens. I went in there with just like a reader's lens. And then I was like, oh, this is a little different. And I think that's the reason it's taking me longer to read, because I keep going back and forth in my mind, just not as a regular reader, but also as a clinician. And so I do want to finish it. And then this is one of the books that I want to reread, but I want to reread it from the position of being a clinician. And so I don't know how long this book is going to take me, but I figured I'd put it on the list because there are some books that take me quite a long time to read. So yeah, today was just about just revealing how long it really does take a book. Some people read books 1 a day, 1 in 3 days, 1 in a week, 20 books a month, 7 books a month, 1 book a month. I average about 8 to 10 books a month, but not with that intended goal. My goal is just to read what I enjoy. That's why making TBRs for me is not really realistic, because I read how I feel in the moment. I try to stick to a general list, I know this year I want to read my big boys. That means books that's 300, 400, 500 pages. So I have those on my list. And so those are going to take longer to read because I have a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9, as I always say. But other than that, this reading journey has been interesting and I love it and I'm going to continue it. And yeah, those are the books that took me a little bit longer to read than most. But I've enjoyed the experience of all the books, and so there you have it. Today we have no coffee. I haven't, I'm staying at a hotel, so I haven't started moving and shaking yet. So I'm gonna get me some coffee, and you'll see all of that because I'm gonna actually do a vlog of my vacation, and so you'll see all those things. But this is still Book Uncorked and Caffeinated. Do all the things. Like, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.